Welcome to the Kernow cast. This is episode 23 of the podcast, and my guest today is Joe Taylor, who is the CEO and founder of The Wave Project. The Wave Project is a charity that helps children with mental health problems by taking them surfing. Joe seems really passionate about what he's doing, and it sounds like they're getting some really good results with their projects. You can find them at www.waveproject.co.uk and at Wave Project on Twitter and Facebook, and also at Wave Project UK on Instagram. Now, this week's music, we're going back around all the songs that we've had on the podcast before, because I've not actually had any new music come in. So if you know anyone that is a musician of any genre in Cornwall, let them know that they can have their music featured on the podcast for free. So this track is called Raise Your Head, and it's by Rick Flant. You can find him on Twitter at MusyCatman, and he's on YouTube and SoundCloud. This episode was recorded at the Hawkins Arms in Probus, and you can find them at their website, which is www.thehawkinsprobus.co.uk, and they're also on Facebook. The last thing before we get into the conversation and everything, I just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, which is Kernow Valeting and Detailing, who can expertly clean your car, and they have loads of different options, from a full-on ceramic coating all the way down to like a bronze valet. And you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. All the links that I have mentioned will be in the descriptions below, on top, in wherever the descriptions are, so it's all going to be in there. So you can click and find the things that you want to find. Just want to thank you for listening, and please enjoy the music from Rick and my conversation with Joe. Cheers.
Raise your head. Raise your head. Taiji in the dying sun, death or the aquarium. Bluefin on the menu when there's nothing in the sea. Buy a baby in a bag, turtle for your gearing tag. Navy plays with sonar and the ocean starts to bleed. Arrogance and by your side, sterilize the countryside. Finding out solutions in the barrel of a gun. Take a life, evade the jail, just another lonely tale. Birds and nymphs, fun and games, flush them out and shoot them down. They can't speak. Lift your eyes from your feet and raise your head and see that they deserve our awareness. Hey, yeah, come on and raise your head now. Hey, yeah, come on and raise your head now. Peaches got a metal tube, cannot see it, cannot move. Moon bearing a gibbet for an ancient phallus.
Welcome to the Kernow cast. I'm Lewis Pauling, and my guest today is Joe Taylor from The Wave Project. How you doing?
Hi Lewis, alright, yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, it was great. So, yeah, you're the CEO and the founder of The Wave Project. Can you just sort of let the listeners know what The Wave Project is generally about?
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. So The Wave Project's a charity. We started in Cornwall 8 years ago. Initially with just a few volunteers. We ran a project over at Watergate Bay. We really just wanted to take local young people surfing who had mental health issues,
Right.
just to see if it helped them feel better. As simple as that. It was a really simple idea. Never really expected 8 years later to be still doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
here I am. We're doing the same sort of stuff now. Really, we run free surfing courses for children and young people who are facing challenges and trauma and difficulties in their lives. We work now with quite a broad range of people, actually, from quite young children. We get increasingly more referrals for children in primary school than we used to in the past, but right up to the age of 18, 19.
Right.
And they're all young people who've experienced some kind of trauma or are finding life tough.
Yeah.
And we find that surfing in a group with other young people and with a supportive team of mentors who teach them to surf has a beneficial effect on their well-being. So now we get support from charitable trusts and the NHS and other local services like Cornwall Council to run these projects to help young people feel better, feel more positive, and just have a bit of a break and a bit of a respite from their problems.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant! That sounds amazing. So you literally started just by doing sort of free surf lessons for people for children that are struggling with something in particular. Then.
Yeah, well, they are still free for new referrals.
Right.
And we run a surf club which is an opt-in thing for children who've done a course with us, and there is a small charge for the surf club sessions.
Okay.
And the funding comes from the referral organisations themselves and donations and people doing fundraising for us and that sort of thing. So, it's just been one of those things that's kind of taken off and it's worked really well, and we're still going, I think, because the children that we work with are so responsive and to it. It seems to fill a need and it fills a gap, which quite a lot of the professional mental health services aren't really able to fill due to waiting lists and budgets and all that sort of stuff.
So what sort of benefits have you found from these children being able to go surfing, basically?
Well, we measure a number of different areas of well-being, and we do that by using pre- and post-evaluation, which means that we do a kind of a survey of the children before they do the surfing course, and then afterwards as well, and we compare the results of the two surveys that they do themselves, and it asks them questions about how they're feeling. They're neutrally worded questions, so we try not to lead them in any way, but it's things like are you feeling calm? Do you are you feeling positive about your life? Do you have lots of friends at the moment? Those kind of questions. So there's a lot of them, but they're all sort of designed to try and get an impression of how the children are coping and feeling pre and post the course. And what we do is we then collate all of that data into a big pool. So last year we worked with about 700 young people across the UK.
Wow.
In Cornwall we worked with about 190, I think, 195 children. And so when you've got a bunch of pre and post data with 195 samples, it's quite robust. And so you can sort of see how they're doing. And we've found fairly consistently over the last 8 years that there's been a big improvement in their well-being, on the things we measure. Which is primarily things like positive functioning, so their outlook, and social trust, how much they can interact and trust other people. We measure their sort of physical health as well, and how active they are, those kind of things.
Yeah, brilliant. Is there sort of something with it? So is there a difference between, say, going on a general surf lesson to going on one of your courses, and how long does one of your courses last?
The answer is sort of yes and no, really.
Right.
And I think in some ways no, that there isn't a difference, and the general surf lesson does, I think, provide quite a lot of positive benefits for people. I think surfing is a fun thing to do. It's I don't know, do you surf yourself?
I used to surf quite a bit. I do find it more difficult these days.
Sure. But I think the kind of children we work with are the sort of kids who probably wouldn't normally go surfing themselves, usually due to anxiety or lack of confidence. So I think they do need to to be kind of scaffolded, if you like, with a bunch of other people who are supportive. They know they're going to make you feel welcome. They're not going to sort of feel like they're embarrassed that other people are going to be better than them, or that it's not going to be a competitive environment. So I think what we do is we try and create a kind of a very warm, welcoming environment that they feel comfortable in, and ensure that they get lots of emotional support as well as just being taught to surf. So that there is lots of benefits from the surfing itself, being in the sea, being outside, but also we try and add an extra layer of support for them, which is the kind of one-to-one engagement that our volunteer surf mentors provide for them.
Yeah.
So with our kids, they all have their own mentors. So that's another difference. They would all have their own individual support mentor.
Fantastic. That's amazing. So how long do the courses sort of last?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That's right.
So they initially last 6 weeks, and then they can join the surf club after that.
Right.
And there's no sort of time limit on the surf club. They can keep coming as long as they like.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the children go on and become volunteers, and they mentor other kids. So
Oh wow.
we've seen that happen quite a bit. In fact, as the project's maturing, and we're now sort of into our 8th year, we're seeing a lot more of that kind of thing. So, children we worked with, 3, 4, 5 years ago, are now coming back and as volunteers, which is really lovely to see.
Brilliant. And have you found, so those people that are, say, sort of, they've been through the project and then they've come out, been gone for a few years, and these people that are coming back, they must be coming back because they found it so beneficial to themselves, they want to pass that on to others.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think they do remember what it meant to them at a time in life which was really difficult, and when they were facing crisis or having a really difficult time. And I think they recognise that just having that time away from their problems and being around more positive people and in a more positive environment and doing something enjoyable and helped them.
Yeah. And
through that period, and when they come back, and some of them just stayed with us as well. So
just didn't go.
Never left.
Yeah.
Just kind of carried on going through the surf club and then volunteering. And
oh wow.
So we're training some of them up to become surf coaches and lifeguards and stuff as well.
Oh, fantastic! Oh wow. So can you sort of get funding through to push them onto other courses as well? Then can you?
Yeah, no, we've done that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
We get some funding for that.
So it's not just a matter of come on the 6-week course, then maybe join the surf club. You could actually go through and progress to do other things within the.
Become a coach or a lifeguard.
Wow.
Or,
that's great.
Or volunteer. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good that it's got sort of that long-termism inside.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've been really keen to try and introduce into the project is long-termism and stability as well, because there's quite a lot of these projects that sort of come and go a little bit. They sort of pop up and they appear a lot of kind of a bit of a fizz and a bang for a year or two, and then they kind of disappear. So we have tried really hard to try and keep the project really consistent, and that's quite a challenge actually in the current funding environment. But I think we've managed so far anyway to do that, and hope to continue to do that.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you've gone 8 years, I mean that's a good start for long-termism.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Amazing.
So hopefully you can interview me in another 8 years. And, we'll still be going.
Yeah, hopefully. That'd be great. So let's almost sort of go back to the start then. So you said you started it was just an idea that you had, and you just thought, was that?
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit more to it than that, because I'd actually worked on a different project a couple of years previously and helped set it up, which had been focused on disability.
Okay.
Disabled surfing. It was more of an inclusion project. Great fun, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Getting these disabled kids into the water. But what I noticed when I was working on that project was the changes in mood and attitude that you saw from these kids with disabilities.
Right,
they turn up on the session and be very nervous and anxious, quite agitated. But then after the session, they would leave feeling really positive, like really stoked, and just
and
a lot more confident and wanted to come back. having overcome their fears really of getting into the water. And so a couple of years later, when I was thinking about setting up the Wave project, I was kind of wondering, could that be broadened out to reach young people generally rather than young people with disabilities, although actually we still work with a lot of disabled children because they do have a lot of mental health issues as well quite often.
Yeah.
So that was the thinking, and that was our approach, and it still is. So it's worked.
Yeah. What was your first few steps then to make that first class happen?
Well, fortunately, I did have some NHS contacts through this disabled surf project I'd previously done. Yeah. So they were aware of that and kind of they knew me and knew that I was able to deliver. So I was able to get a meeting with some of the commissioners. It's much harder to do now actually in the NHS, but then they were quite open to ideas, and they made some funding available to me to do. Not a huge amount of funding, it was £5,000, but I mean it was enough to get the thing started.
Yeah.
But they also appointed a clinical psychologist to help with the evaluation side of things. So she really helped with just steering us along the right path of measuring success.
Right. Yeah.
And measuring how to ensure the project was measuring the right things, and so she designed some quite simple questionnaires for the children to do. So that really helped. So from the very outset, we were kind of really measuring our project, measuring our outcomes, and that helped us later actually when we were applying for further funding to actually have some data to be able to present to funders, rather than just coming to them with a nice idea. So they funded a pilot scheme, and then actually the NHS funding was cut disappointingly, which was a bit of a blow to a new project due to those changes of government and big reorganisation of the NHS and all that.
Quite challenged.
So, well, it was a pretty fundamental challenge because it was all of our funding at the time.
All of it.
Well, we'd only had this NHS funding at that point. But I kind of believed in the project at that point and felt that we had some really good outcomes, seen some really amazing things happen in the scene on the beach for these kids, and I felt that we had to kind of keep going with it.
Yeah. How long into the project was this?
Well, not very. I mean, the NHS funding really was only for an initial 6-week course. And obviously the pre and post work. So I mean, there was a period of recruiting volunteers and so on, and a period of evaluation. So overall, it took about 3 months probably to deliver the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hoping they'd come back with some more money. My hope would be, we've had these great results. Here's another 20 grand to keep it going. But that didn't happen. So we delivered. This was the sort of summer and autumn 2010, and November 2010, they told us they weren't going to be able to make any more money available. So we entered a fairly bleak kind of winter at that point. Of what do we do? But I took the decision just to go for it anyway. So at that point, set up a community interest company as a vehicle to generate further funding.
Yeah.
We managed to get some, but it did take a couple of months to do that. So it was a tough few months, really.
Yeah.
But
it seems to have paid off, I think.
It did in the end, yeah. It did in the end, but it was certainly that sort of between that November and until we got some funding confirmed, which was I think the sort of following April. May the following year.
Quite a few months
of trying to kind of chivvy the thing along, and in the winter obviously it's quite difficult to do. We got bits of support coming in though, and we did some fundraising, and now we're doing quite well, I guess. We've got 20 staff. And, we have 12 projects around the UK, so
Yes, it's great that it's gone further than just Cornwall as well. I think it's nice that it's managed to
I think
expand.
Cornwall's definitely still very much our spiritual home and our physical HQ, and it's also where we deliver most of our projects. And but we have satellite projects, smaller ones in Cornwall, around the UK. But what's quite interesting is that where the Cornish project leads, the others kind of follow. So they're sort of they're doing things. The more established projects are doing things that we were doing 3 or 4 years ago. And the less established, more sort of new projects, the ones where we were when we started up. So, I'm hoping in a few years' time they'll be kind of where Cornwall is now, and the Cornwall project might have moved on again. So, so it's still very much the lead project here, and probably always will be. I imagine.
Excellent. So I think you said that your funding now comes from the referrals that you get. So the where the children. It's
a mixture really.
Right.
It's primarily donations actually.
Okay.
But we are now introducing more of a funding pathway for referrers to make it more sustainable. So services like the NHS provide some funding, for example. They're not in Cornwall actually anymore still, but they do in some of the other areas. But as I said, Cornwall Council have provided some funding for certain projects, and we're trying to encourage schools to provide funding for certain things. So it's just, I think that's the way we're kind of going in terms of, because we feel that, all these organisations are benefiting too, because they end up with, pupils and patients who are healthier, and because of the result of our project, so it helps their outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's certainly the road we're going down now. And we but it's certainly not a major source of funding at the moment. But I think it probably will be going more that way in the future.
Yeah. So generally, there's there must be a cost attached to one person coming on the course, and then you must charge that out to the referrer.
That's the idea. Yeah. And that's sometimes easier said than done, because everyone says they've got no money.
Yeah.
And largely, budgets are tight. It's more a question of whether they feel that it's a good use of the money they do have.
That's right.
That's the question. Like any business decision, really.
Of course.
But I think we're now making quite a strong case for showing that actually it is, because the children that do our courses are, making so much progress that they wouldn't be making if they didn't do them. Like GP surgeries, for example, when they get patients going in with, mild to moderate mental health issues, particularly children, there's very little they can really refer them to. NHS children mental health services are more or less full in Cornwall. They don't really have very much capacity. So, where do these kids go? So projects like ours, I think, do have a role to play in actually giving them some opportunity and something to do and focus on that helps them in the short term, and also particularly in the long term.
Yeah.
So there's scope there to develop all of that. But like anything, it's always evolving a bit, and you're always kind of
going with what's happening around you. I mean, what I think. You mentioned sort of the NHS and GP surgeries and schools and stuff, and I think sometimes there aren't enough. Because if I could just imagine being a child or even an adult now going in and saying, I'm feeling really anxious about a lot of things, and or I might be sort of quite depressed about things that have happened, and they kind of almost feel like they might put you down a route of I can't think of the right word, but drugs, perhaps.
Medication.
Medication, that's the word. Medication, or like almost through like a hospital system where it can, that I don't know. Sometimes I think that might make you feel more anxious.
Well, I think the problem is that's not even really an option to them anymore, because there just isn't any. There's no, particularly for children. There's almost no provision. So there's just no one available to treat them.
Yeah.
And in terms of medication, I think most GPs would see that as being they can prescribe antidepressants and medication, and sometimes do, I think a lot of GPs and health professionals don't really like to do that, particularly for kids.
Yeah.
I think it's not something they would certainly use as a, as part of their toolkit of things they can offer, but I think it certainly wouldn't be their preferred choice. And I think this is the sort of thing that can give them something that's potentially not quite as intrusive as medication.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any harm, and it's quite cost effective. It's not very expensive. So we kind of think, well, why not?
I think a lot of people, especially children, I think sometimes they do just need to get out and about and talk to other people. And if they're at school,
in a supportive environment,
that's right. Because in school it can be quite a intimidating place if you haven't necessarily got very many friends, and I can imagine that would easily drag someone's mood down and stuff. And there's plenty of football teams out there for youth for children, for example. Just generally, but there's not many other.
But the trouble is, all these environments are all these environments are competitive, though. So
that's right.
School is competitive. Competitive sports are competitive.
That's right.
And actually, kids facing kind of isolation, trauma. That's not really what they need usually. I'm not saying that competition is a bad thing. I don't think it is. I think actually it's a really good thing. I used to love playing football as a kid myself. But I think, what's missing from there is just a supportive, nurturing kind of environment.
Yeah.
Whilst that also provides a challenge and something fun for them to do. And, that's very valuable for children, I think, who are quite low and quite vulnerable. So I feel that, the evidence is in our evaluation data. Really, we've proved that it does make a massive difference to them.
What sort of data have you sort of found then? If you I don't know, percentage of increase in mood, I'm not sure, but
big increases in we evaluate the data in different ways. So what we might do is look at a big data set, say the 300 children, and then look at certain types of question, and create a group mean score for them. So you might ask them something like, I'm trying to think of one. The question might be, I feel I'm good at some things.
Okay, yeah.
Which is a question that is really related to their self-esteem. And on a 5-point scale, they might begin a course and put down 1 or 2, and then at the end of the course, they might put 3 or 4.
Right.
Now, if you've got 300 kids doing this, you can pull that data on that question, and then you can see overall this group of 300 on that score, on a scale of 1 to 5, what do their scores go from into? So if it went from 1 to 4 overall as an average, what you can see is that these 300 kids, as a group, as a mean, their self-esteem has improved doing the course, or at least during the period they were doing the course. Right. So it's either a complete coincidence that they happened to be doing our course at that time, or it's to help their self-esteem. Do you see what I mean? So you get that way you can measure whether or not the intervention, whether or not the surfing course is improving kids' self-esteem. And the other thing we can do is we can look more at sort of binary kind of evaluation. So things like yes or no answers. I've made friends on this course, yes or no. And then just look at a sort of percentage of the children that say yes. And again, big data sets of 300-400 kids, you're looking at 75-80% of them saying yes to that question. A lot of them. There's a lot of children. So when you, as it were, take the two together, you can sort of look at the benefits on the kids. But we also add another couple of layers as well, which is like we look at parental evaluation. So we do. We get a psychologist to do focus group interviews with the parents, just to ask them what changes they've observed over the period, and the referral organisations themselves, so the people who initially flagged the kids up to us, we get feedback from them too about what changes they've seen. So taken together, you can pull all of that together into a report.
And say this is how.
We're confident that it's improving their well-being.
Wow. What sort of comments have you had from parents then?
really good ones. I mean, things like that it's given, them their children back.
Oh wow!
That that it saved their lives. That it's.
Wow.
I mean, some quite powerful comments, really. Because I think a lot of these kids, I remember actually the very first pilot scheme was a child who wouldn't talk. He was experiencing something called selective mutism,
Right.
which is where, usually due to trauma or anxiety, but it can just happen. The child just chooses not to talk. It's not that they can't talk, they just won't talk.
Yeah.
And obviously that's very distressing for the family.
Yeah, definitely.
And for the child themselves. But on our course, he started talking again to his mentor.
Wow.
And later on to his parents. And it was actually him. He was that particular child that made me realise that there was something in this. And it was actually thinking about him that sort of dark period and
there's other people, there's other children out here
we've got to keep trying because there's other children who are going to benefit in the same way. So
wow, that's quite a powerful story. That must. I mean, at the end of the day, that must be.
We helped him, and he ended up helping us.
Well, yeah. I mean, but still, that's quite a thing. And actually, over 8 years of doing that, you must have seen so many stories similar to that. And what have
amazing stories.
Yeah. What have you learned the most from doing it? Then, do you think?
Ooh, that's a difficult one.
Yeah.
I think to not give up, really. I think is probably the most important lesson, both for me and for the kids themselves. I mean, seeing incredible individual stories of personal resilience, where they've overcome these incredibly terrible, things that have been happening to them at home or, school or, in their, just really awful things that, shouldn't happen to kids ever, but do all the time, unfortunately. And these kids just battling through that and coming out the other side. Also for me personally, I mean, it's been a tough experience, I have to say. I mean, even though it's been a really rewarding and enjoyable one, it's been hard. I mean, I've never set up a charity before or done anything like this before. So, don't give up. I think is the lesson. Yeah.
Wow, I think that's great. I mean, it's difficult to see where to sort of take this now because it's quite powerful stuff.
Do I read it there? I mean,
I don't want to at all. I'm just trying to sort of get my head around it because it's amazingly powerful stuff when you start saying things, when you start explaining stories like the child that didn't want to speak and stuff. It's quite it makes you think about it, like especially like me. I'm a dad, and I can't imagine my little boy going through something like that. But to know that there's something out there where he could go to and maybe get over that, perhaps. And
well, we can't. I mean, got to be careful here. We can't guarantee that it's a cure for selective mutism. I'm just saying that what you can do is infer that there are positive outcomes from it, but we can't really define what those are going to be.
No.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But increased confidence in yourself can achieve amazing things.
Yeah.
I think get people through really tough times. So,
that's great. I mean, so what? So if someone wanted to donate to the Wave Project, how would they go about doing that?
Well, we've got a website, waveproject.co.uk, with a donate button on there, which people are welcome to do. Or, we really love it when people do fundraising events for us, or we've got a guy, a couple of people are running the London Marathon later this month. It's actually, it's not next week, it's in a couple of weeks, in fact, isn't it? For us, and stuff like that is great. Or just get involved as a volunteer as well.
Yeah.
That's something we always welcome.
If someone if there's a parent out there listening to this, then, and they think that maybe their child has had a bit of a bit depressive problem, would would they have to be referred, or could they maybe just come along to the surf session, perhaps? Or
they would have to be referred initially. Right. We do take some private sessions as well,
okay.
Privately funded bookings. But I mean, we have capacity issues, so we can't. We've only got a certain number of staff, so. But we're always willing to talk to people about what would be the best option for them.
Yeah.
So if you just give us a ring really and just talk through what they want to do, and we'll point them in the right direction.
Right. Brilliant. That's amazing. So, how do you see? Have you got? I think actually that reminds me. Did I see something? I think you posted it on LinkedIn in the last couple of days. You've had some sort of some funding from somewhere, or?
We got some lottery funding for our Dorset project.
What? Sorry.
Our project in Dorset.
Okay. Oh, yeah, wow.
So yeah, we've got another 3 years funding to work with 180 young people in Dorset. So over the next 3 years. So yeah, it's a really great project.
Yeah.
A bit of funding from the big lottery fund. So thanks to them.
Yeah.
And everyone who does the lottery.
Yeah. That's great. Is it something that you want to try and maybe? Do you feel like you can expand it further than what it is now, or is it something that you need to sort of? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, it's it's a fairly simple idea. I think as long as things are delivered well, and we have a bunch of mentors and volunteers who are really positive around the kids, and it's not a difficult thing to sort of set up. So yeah, we're hoping to do more projects.
So say if there was someone in an area that is listening and they've been thinking, I want to try and do this, like maybe try and do something for children in this similar way, and they've got this, they just don't know how to do it. How could they get involved, and how can you support them in setting something up?
Well, that's how we've expanded the project to date. I mean, it's usually been someone saying something like, I'd like to set a project up here in, South Wales or wherever, and we've just kind of helped them do it.
Right.
So yeah, we're open to that. I mean, I think we did row back a little bit on that in the last couple of years because we had so many projects going that we wanted to make sure that everyone running them knew what they were doing, and so we spent a bit of time just investing in quite a lot of staff training and ensuring that the projects are stable. Yeah. But we are hoping to expand to a couple of new areas this year. So there's 3 or 4 new projects that we've got potentially in the pipeline.
Fantastic.
So
brilliant. Well, Joe, I mean, is there something that you think that I might not have asked that you might want to sort of bring up, perhaps?
No, I think we've covered quite a lot, haven't we? So yeah, thanks for your time.
Hey, no problem. Just before we sort of close up, I mean, what's the best way to sort of get hold of you and the Wave Project? And
probably through the website. I mean, all our contact details are there, including phone numbers and stuff. So waveproject.co.uk. Yeah. People want to email me. I'm just joe@waveproject.co.uk.
Nice and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll put them all in the description, so people can just link straight to it. I mean, have you got sort of any social media sites and stuff that you could use?
We have a Facebook page, which is Wave Project UK.
Right.
And we're on Twitter and Instagram, and LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Joe Taylor.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Joe. I really enjoyed it. It was a big insight.
It's been great to chat to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening, and all the best.
All the best.
Cheers. So that was my interview with Joe Taylor from the Wave Project. I hope you really enjoyed it. I know I did. I learnt a lot, and hopefully there'll be more projects similar to this happening in the future. Like I said at the beginning, you can find the Wave Project at www.waveproject.co.uk. They're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. The music at the beginning was by Rick Flant, and the track was called Raise Your Head, and you can find him on Twitter at MusyCatman, and also on YouTube and SoundCloud. Another thanks to the Hawkins Arms in Probus for allowing us to record there, and also to our sponsors Kernow Valeting and Detailing. So thanks for watching and listening. If you were watching on YouTube, then you can find us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher, and if you're listening, you can find us on YouTube. You can watch us talking. So there's different avenues to find us, and obviously the Kernow Cast is on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Lewis Pauling on LinkedIn. You can find me there. Yeah, we're all over the shop. So until next time, I'll catch you later on. All the best. Cheers, my dears.